take them off the wall just to kind of feel how light they are. But especially that one, that was the one of the lightest ones, and it's one of the biggest ones. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. But they are still on the wall.
How
And,
long did you work on this?
Sarah, when did I meet you?
It's been 2 years? No, it's been just over a year.
Yeah, I'm so confused on my timeline.
Yeah, just over a year, because
We were trying to figure that out too.
the gallery has been open for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And the gallery was already open when I met you.
It was just opened, right?
It was just opened.
Okay, so it's been about a year and a half. I thought it was longer, but maybe it felt longer. But it was actually just a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, a little under 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's how long it's been. Because that's when I made the first one and was starting to show work. When I met her, we actually met at an arts and culture night. So I was like wanting to network more, and that was like the perfect opportunity. And I met her there, and she was telling me about how she just opened a gallery, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's how we met. That's how we met initially. And then I was starting to occasionally like do group shows here and there, and one of the first shows that I did was actually a mask, the first mask that I did, and it's in the other room. And I showed it at Deep's, at Dave's Gallery. And that was the first one. And then after that, I kind of got like good feedback from this. So I was like, oh, maybe I should make more of these. Started making more, and it just kind of grew from there. And now I think I have, how many masks are in this show? Probably like 15-ish, 16-ish. But I didn't include all of them. I have 2, 3, 4 of them that I excluded from the show. So I think it's about 20, right, total
Mm-hmm.
that I have. And I think I'm done. I think I'm done.
We're not going to hold you to that.
No. Yeah, but don't hold me to it. And if you find one on Instagram pop up, a new one, you know,
Obviously, you weren't done.
Yeah, I can't make promises, but I feel like I'm almost like I've gotten it out of my system. I think I'm ready for the next series now, pretty much.
I can't quite remember, but how long is it? Like a month? How long does it take you to do one?
Honestly, I can't say because I would work on multiple ones at the same time. So it was never just like one that I was doing. It would be kind of like 2 or 3 of them, and it could be like a month of me doing 2 or 3 of them, maybe like a month and a half. I could finish 3 of them. Does that make sense? But that's me like working on them all the time. Because I would get tired of one and then I would put it aside and work on the next, come back, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, had to do it that way because their faces, they kind of like would start staring back at me and I'm like, okay, I don't want to look at you anymore. So I would have to like, you know, figure out something else that I'm going to do to it, or I would see something that would inspire me. I'm like, oh, I can put circles on his face, you know, because I saw a pattern on it, or use a different color at the bottom, or even just add like, you know, the hair on it. I don't know. Had to come back and get that idea. So, yep.
I was curious about that, like how you make decisions about each one, because they are so unique.
The initial shape of them would honestly come from just, I can't even tell you like that I would plan it. It was never really planned. Sometimes it would be what materials I had available to me, honestly speaking. That would determine like what the nose looked like, or what I was watching on TV, like the one with Lost in Space. There's one in there that's inspired by like a mechanical robot that's in a show called Lost in Space because he has one eye and one nostril. But yeah, or I could have seen something like that. I'm trying to remember like the adornment on her head. Like I was trying to make it look almost like hair or like a crown. And I couldn't even tell you like where that guy came from. I don't know. It was like an amoeba, jellyfish / alien-y looking thing. I don't know. A dream, a movie, who knows? But yeah, I just woke up and was like, you know what? I want to make a giant think is what gave them all so much detail, because if I worked on one and kept looking at it, I would like run out of ideas and be like, okay, I can't keep looking at it. I don't know what else to do to it, get tired of it, you know. But when I would step away from them and then come back to it, it would be like, well, maybe this would look good. And just not being scared to make mistakes, because a lot of them I painted over a few times. That one was a completely different color before I made it red and black, and it didn't have that chin. It was actually red at the top and then black all the way down. And I thought, this doesn't look right because it's so wide, it needs something to break it up. And I, one day, taped off the top and like splattered the bottom. Just experimenting. And I liked the way it looked. So you just can't be scared to do it, and then knowing if you don't like it, you can paint it over. It's art, there's no rules, and there's no right or wrong to it, right? Like, that could have been a complete mistake on my part, but everybody else likes it, so guess what? I did it on purpose. As far as everybody's concerned, right? But unless I tell you that, or you're there when it happens, how are you ever gonna know? There's no way to know.
I won't tell it.
How? We'll just let you two.
One
Right? It's all being recorded. Yeah, I should have blocked that part out. But yeah, that's why I feel like I want to, I actually have an opportunity coming up to teach some kids, an art class, and the art class is going to be how to make their masks. So they're going to make their masks and they'll make them personal to them, obviously a lot smaller, because we're dealing with shorter attention spans, but it's going to be easier for them to make it smaller, and I'll make it super, super easy, like a, 1, 2, 3 step type of thing, not how I do it, because I'll like go in and mold the nose and mold the, everything, and we wouldn't have time for that anyway, and they would not have the patience. So I'll make it super easy for them, but I think that it'll be fun for them. And then they can do whatever they want to it, they can put whatever they want on it, they can put feathers or whatever it is, like, I think it'll be fun for kids to do. And they can take them home.
Where's this gonna be at?
It will be potentially at a school in Akron.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be like a week-long class that I'll be doing, I think, 5th, 6th, 7th graders.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So that'll be pretty soon in October, I believe. Just kind of waiting for a word on, I have to get, so putting that together was interesting, because then I had to do it as though they would be doing it, and do it, figuring out the easiest way to put together, because obviously, like I said, they would not be able to, they could do that, but it takes so much time. There's no way in a classroom setting that, like a 40-minute class, that they'd be able to sit through or finish it, yeah. And the point is to, in a week's time, be able to finish it, and they'll probably show it, and then they'll show it in the school and stuff, yeah. Yeah, so eventually, I probably do that with people that do want to do that. I want to put that class together. Next summer, hopefully, we'll still be at Artful, and we can do it there. And I can put that class together. Because I feel like a lot of people do want to do adult art classes. There's not a lot of places that, in the summertime, it's usually just like kid classes, kid summer camps. It's not a lot of adult summer, other than like sip and paints, where, you know what I mean, you're sitting there and they kind of give you instruction on what to do. There's not a lot of places for people to just kind of like do whatever. And people are kind of scared to do that for some reason when they're home, and they're like, I don't know what to put on the canvas, so like just do whatever. I feel like sometimes you just need like a little guiding hand to kind of get started. So I'll definitely work on that for next summer. I mean, a couple hours a week of just having no rules and just being able to do whatever you want to it, I feel like it's so freeing. It's something that, as artists, I think I know I take it for granted sometimes, that when I'm stressed out, or if I want to just like get some energy out, or if I'm feeling like, fuzzy in the head, doing that for me clears it. And I've always felt like, I've always known that for me, because that's just always been. But I think it's something that a lot of people can benefit from. It's not just an artist thing, I think it's just like a human thing. You just need an open outlet that's it's not like restricted sometimes. Yeah.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Questions about masks, questions about the other work.
Sure.
So you talked about a couple masks earlier, and it seems like you had gave them genders. Do they have personalities to you? Do you think about that at all, or?
I didn't think about it as much until I started having to describe them and talk about them. And then I realized that too, that I was assigning genders to them. And I thought, oh wow, I never realized that I thought that that was a he, or that was a she, or that was a, they, because some of them, can be either one, and then it's like, I never realized that they kind of have these characters already, like, or little personalities to them. And somebody at the show, Mark, a friend of mine, said, have you thought about the fact that, like, because they are masks that traditionally are used as kind of like a go-between. That's what traditional African masks were. Well, I can speak on African masks, but masks are all over the world, right? But even in their use all over the world, they're kind of used as a way to cover up or veil someone's identity so that they can appeal to the other world. So it's almost like covering up who they are so that they can look like, it's like masks are kind of like our interpretations, or over time they've been our interpretations of what the other side looks like, or what entities or deities, or whatever it is that we're praying to or appealing to for rain, or if it's love, or if it's war, if it's peace, whatever it is that the mask is intended to do. It's kind of like a way to look like them, and then you kind of like appeal to them or enter into their world. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm like describing that correctly, but like any of the dances that are associated with these masks, or costumes that are associated with these masks, the people that wear them and dance in them, or traditionally perform whatever ceremonies, we say in our language, kushikirwa, which is actually just another way of saying, is it possession? And possession is kind of a negative connotation, but that they are, their bodies are kind of then being used by the spirit world to convey whatever message they're trying to attain from them, right? To find out about prosperity, or the weather, or what's going to happen in the future, or if they're trying to talk to ancestrally, like pass on messages or find messages from them. It's like a way for them to disguise themselves as what they think they look like, right? So that they can momentarily be a part of their world and have this person like translate or be a vessel for that message. So it's not necessarily, obviously, like nobody knows, that's why they all look so different. That's why maybe in some cultures they might look like crazy scary, and in some cultures they might look completely like a different way. It's just everybody's interpretation of that. And it was mostly for ceremonial reasons, obviously, but like we believe, I know in our culture, that someone who is like, they would have like crazy dancing and drums, and like, it would be even like something like a funeral or some form of a ceremony, depending on what it is. The person who's wearing that and who's dancing, it's almost like they become entranced while they're dancing, and they are supposed to then like tap into the other side. And this was just like a ceremonial garb, or like a way to represent like the person is like the one who's going over, or it was almost like a way to disguise like I'm one of you guys when they would tap in. Does that make sense? Yeah, so okay, I kind of got off track. But the reason why I went on that tangent is that like they were asking, well, because the masks were always used for that traditionally, did I think that maybe I unintentionally, would then have these masks take on like the spirit of their own? So of course, like my reason for making them was completely different, right? Than maybe whoever would be tasked to make masks in a village would be like someone short would be like that's their job. They're probably like a shaman or somebody who's like specifically like that person is allowed to make them. And me making them for artistic purposes, I never thought about like then assigning to like a specific, you know what I mean? But he was just like, yeah, I feel like if you look at some of them long enough, it kind of feels like they have their own personality. I don't know. I mean, there's no way of knowing that, because if someone is making them, what is the difference between me making it for art and someone who's making it in a village for a ceremony that they're about to perform, right? We could probably use the exact same materials. Maybe they would look different, but I think the intent behind them is probably what would be different. And I think the intent goes a long way. Like if you are wanting it to be used for a specific purpose, if you want anything to be used for a specific purpose, whether it be art or clothing or whatever it is, like I think intent goes a long way in making it, and I guess the end use of it. So I don't know. I feel like maybe they might have a little bit of their own personality. I'm sure that they do because of just the origins of them and what they are used or have been used for centuries all over the world. But in my opinion, it's nothing malicious. It's nothing like dark or nefarious. I definitely feel like they all have like positive vibes. But yes, they could definitely all take on their own, and maybe that's why I unintentionally assign genders to them and call them, I haven't given them all specific names, and I'm not sure why that is. I've never really been able to like name them all. And to ask Sarah, she asked for a list of all the names when she was putting them up. And I'm sure you've seen on the labels, they have like the craziest names because I could never like actually like give it a name and say, oh, this is the such and such mask. I feel like maybe in the back of my mind, I feel like maybe I thought that was kind of giving it intention, calling it a certain thing, and it's like, okay, well that mask is now that thing. I don't know. Maybe that's why I never did. I'm thinking about it now as I'm talking. So yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's why I always kept things like silly names to not make it as serious as it could be with them.
You can keep it open.
And I can keep it open.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're not telling it, it can live itself.
Right, and because everybody sees something different when they look at it. Everybody, just with any artwork, right? People can look at one piece, two people can look at a piece and see completely different things and reference different things in their life, or it triggers a different memory in them. So this way you can, name it whatever you want when it's hanging in your home, in your phone. So you can call it whatever you want. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I was asking, and I appreciate that was amazing. Because if they do have personalities, you mentioned they're all good vibes personalities, and I was curious if there was this underlying like theme going on,
Yeah.
like if they were similar or they're completely different from one another.
That's interesting.
Maybe there's something going on in your mind, or whatever mood you're in, maybe it's
Whatever,
like
yeah.
going into that one.
That's possible too. Whatever's going on in my life at the
Yeah.
time. I mean, I feel like that's with any artwork, right? Whatever's going on in your life, you can look at a piece that you've done and be like, I remember what was going on at that point in time. So like in your mind, in your heart, and through your hands, you kind of, you pour that into it. So unless you tell someone else, obviously, this is going to be like, oh, I see that now in your painting, I think we all do that with artwork, really. Whatever shape it takes. Yeah, I don't think we can help that.
Yeah.
I think it kind of comes with the gig, but yeah, with these, I think it's just more like in your face, because they're literally faces looking back at you. It's not artwork where you can kind of stare at it and it doesn't have a, face to look back at you. So I think maybe that's why they're more, what's the word I'm looking for? They're more, they're more like responsive than more artwork would be. Because I think you like you said, you can stare at it long enough and you start to imagine what life it would have had or what it would be used for or what it was, you know what I mean? I don't know, like this guy. Yeah, because his eyes are darker, so it's like you want to like kind of look into them. That was I know you were saying that one is your favorite one. What vibes do you get from that guy?
Oh. Now I'm looking at that one over there.
Oh, is that
And
one?
I'm looking, and I'm seeing that that one's really powerful the way that it's,
Yeah.
some of the intention in the expression. But that one drew me from across the room.
Yeah.
The colors on that. Just
Yeah.
the red and black.
Yeah. The black and white one, I'll have to say, is probably one of the only ones that I think I intentionally wanted to express sorrow in. Not necessarily like anger or violence or anything, but like just despair, sorrow and despair in it. So I think maybe that's why, because a lot of people do respond to that one positively and negatively, which I welcome, because any response is, you know, is a response to my art. So I feel like, okay, well, I've done something with it. So I feel like, yeah, that maybe for that reason, that's why people respond to it, because it is definitely one that it's probably the only one actually that I definitely was like, okay, this is like a sad guy. Yeah.
Do you prefer now, like, experimenting three-dimensionally more than two? Because
I definitely do.
this is a new thing.
Yeah, I still love to paint. I do, but this is like a whole new world for me. And it's so many ways you can go, so many directions, so many materials we were talking about that you can use even just for the masks. And that's just doing masks, but like it doesn't have to just be masks. It can be like sculpture is just like one of those things. Like you can go as large as you want, as small as you want. Like there's just like a really like a wide open field of things that you can. There's too many directions to go in. So I can't help but want to experiment more that way. Plus, I think it's just like not a usual thing. I love paintings. I love like doing that, but I like the idea that I'm making stuff that's weird. I do, and I don't mind people not liking it. I really don't. Like I feel like I'm okay with that. Like you can, and I welcome like either response. Honestly, like people can sound like I don't really like that one, but I like that. I'm like okay, that's cool. That's normal. Like nobody's gonna like all your stuff. But I then want to know, like, okay, well, what about that one makes you feel like that, you know? Because I almost, in a way, I almost want to know so that I can recreate the feeling in a different one. I know that's horrible, but no, because then if you, as an artist, can intentionally want to make something that everybody cringes to, and you can do that, that's like an awesome superpower, right? You can be like, I want that one to make people happy, I want that one to make people sad, I want that one to I mean, if you could do that with artwork and intentionally make everybody feel what you want them to feel with a painting, I mean, I would say that's pretty cool, but, you know, that's just my brain, and how it works.
Very
Yeah.
powerful, very, very powerful communication that way.
Yes. Because imagine if you could just do a happy show. Nothing but happy. And I know you can do that. Like, or just do a sad show. That's something like just to think in that way, right? The assumption is that you have to make everybody like your things, but what if you did something that you walked in there and it was like, oh my gosh, what is this? To me, that's not a bad show. That's not like failure of a show. It's not bad art even. It's just that it's communicating a different feeling than maybe most people expect to have when they go to one.
I would say even this room and that room feel completely different with like your pieces.
You do.
Because they're just so different. But that one feels, I don't know, lighter?
No, that room definitely feels lighter. But I think it's also with
Just
the
yeah.
plants and the, you know, that the way that it's set up in there too as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus Sarah did an awesome job painting everything. Pretty much was like, just do whatever you feel like you need to do, make it look good, and she definitely did, so I'm very appreciative of that. Yeah, no, very much so. I think it was actually better that I wasn't here, and she did. Because I would have been like, no, that one needs to go to this side. Because when they came in, it was a complete surprise, which I loved, but I was like, oh, this is a good surprise, I love it. Yeah, if I was here, I would have made her like working around and been, okay, completely under the skin and it would have been a mess. Yeah, so I'm glad that she did it without me here. I'm gonna remember that next time. Like, yeah, from experience, better for you to curate than me just show up and, you know, see what you've done. Yeah, and then make minor adjustments. Yeah. Oh, you guys have lots of questions.
Sorry. So you talked a lot about your masks, but there are some 2D works and or sculptural non-mask pieces.
Yes.
I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit and the connection to one another, and like, are they supposed to be communicating something together, or was it just segues into other things?
So at one point I did get fatigued with the masks, making them, because I was making so many of them in such a short amount of time. But I didn't want to step away from the idea of them because I still had so many ideas that I wanted to convey. So I thought maybe it would be cool to paint them and see what I would come up with. It was less labor intensive to paint the masks. And then it could be pretty much whatever, like with that one, it's like more like a abstract version of one. I don't know how I could make that one in real life. I could try to. I might, now that I'm saying it out loud, I might try to. Hopefully, actually was, especially the circle one. But I thought it was cool that I could paint them and make them that large. And I wanted them to be that large, all the paintings of them. Yeah, it was just another way to get all of these ideas out, that using the three-dimensional masks doesn't always come out from your mind onto 3D the way you want it to. Because you're dealing with different textures, different paints, like the shape of it might affect what you thought would look good in your head. So you put it down and you're like, oh, I don't like that, and you have to, because I painted over. I mean, I keep pointing at that one, but a lot of them, like, that one was not that color 2 weeks before the show. It was completely different. So sometimes it's like, what you think is a great idea, when it gets to the studio and trying to do it on the mask, it was horrible. But with two-dimensional, it was a lot easier to have an idea and like put it on paper or put it on the canvas. So it was just a faster way to make masks without making masks, if that makes sense. And they don't necessarily like have like a way of, they don't necessarily communicate, other than the fact that they're masks. Honestly, I don't think that there's really too much else that they have in common. I think the 3D ones are obviously like more detailed and have more going on them. But yeah, I just thought that this was another way for people to put masks in their home that wasn't as, because not everybody likes the idea of having a mask on their wall, like an actual mask on their wall, right? But are more, open to maybe having a painting of one, which, to each their own. And that's just like what I've noticed over time experimenting and dealing with people's responses and kind of them telling me what they thought of each work, And I think I've sold a couple of the painting masks already, actually, and I think people actually respond to those a little bit more. Because like I said, not everyone can hang a mask in their home. Not everyone is okay with that, not everyone's comfortable with that. Not everyone has that much room, even though the other ones are pretty big. But yeah, they just feel more comfortable with two-dimensional art. Yeah. So that's part of that. So I don't think I'm going to stop painting those. I think I probably will still paint those, because I think I really like them. And like, people seem to respond, people also do too. Not that I'm painting for people to respond, but I think that, I think I like the way they look. It's actually hard for me to let them go. Yeah, I did. Yep. And it's tempting to recreate, but I've decided that I'm not going to recreate them once I sell them, because that would be,
Would you ever paint the three-dimensional versions in two-dimensional?
no.
No?
No, because I want each one, even the two-dimensional ones, to be all different. They all have to be one-off pieces. I don't want to do anything that's like another one.
Okay.
Even with the paintings, like I don't want any of the 3D and 2D to even anything. I don't think you want to know that you have something that somebody else has. Well, some people don't mind, but I think that that's something that I would not.
That's another decoration, isn't it?
I have a
Is
question.
that your timer? Is that
No.
the one that just went off?
No, that is,
I
I
know
was
it's
just
a timer.
try and drown them out. I have a question though.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about the masks and the different images in here. I would like to know about womb and womb tube.
Womb and womb tube. So, womb and womb tube are actually made out of these vines that would grow on a tree in the backyard of like our family home. These vines basically grew to the point where they choked out the tree, and the tree had to be cut down. But I saved vines because I thought they looked cool, which is why I initially made that piece at the bottom. And without knowing it, I actually used the vines that choked out the tree to make this piece, and called it womb because to me it looked like the idea was like a universal womb. Those were kind of planets, and they looked like eggs to some people. It was like a mess, but the idea was it was for a show that had all women in it, and I thought it was an appropriate subject to have it be called womb, right? Fast forward to Heights Arts, where it was displayed as, I was one of the emerging artists there, and it was displayed there, and they do this really cool night where they have poets come out and do poetry about your work. And the poet that did my piece did this powerful poem about her experience with cysts. And so she did this poem. Everybody was crying. I was crying. She was crying. Like it was so good. So she did this poem about how she had that experience.